You just tuned it in.
Global and worldwide.
Hitting you on the one with no delay. Because it's the Fighter's Voice.
The Fighter's Voice.
With your fighting host, Richard Ortiz.
And the formidable co-host,
Mr. Cole Escobedo. Remember, every fighter has a voice.
Fresno, California, we're live here in Mad Productions Studios. The Fighter's Voice, the only voice that matters. We're simply knocking out the competition. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about some upcoming fights. We're going to be talking about some potential matchups. We're going to talk in the MMA world and also in the boxing world, the sweet science. And you know, as we always do on Tuesdays, we got the beautiful, the co-host with the most, the one who's raising the dead. It's the lady in red, the cut woman. How we doing, Carol?
I'm good. How are you?
We're
Hello,
doing
Fresno.
good. Yeah, Fresno's
nice
making
back.
it happen. Making it happen. I want to save every single minute and second, man, because I'm excited about our guest tonight.
Absolutely.
Tonight, we got worldwide ring announcer, cage announcer. You name it. I mean, the guy is 6'2". I mean, he could be the next Mexicano 007 if he wanted to. If he
right.
didn't have a career because his voice is amplified, he
Yes.
could definitely be the first Mexican 007. And that's the
right.
one and only Lupe Contreras. Welcome to
All
the show,
right.
Lupe. Lupe, welcome to the show, my man.
Yeah, good to be here. I appreciate the, I always wanted to be an international super spy. I just don't have, the courage or the, the deadly assassin skills to go with it. So I'll stick to ring announcing, I think.
Now, well, you got that personality, man. I mean, you do. You just need to get one of those old school Jaguars, man, and just make it happen, man, because you seem to be in control and calm and collective all the time.
Well, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I mean, we've been around each other for quite a bit the last few years, and I try to take everything as calmly as possible and not get too excited, not to get too too mellow about too many things. Keep it even keeled.
Questions have been coming to me all day in boxing. I mean, I'm at work and I'm still getting these questions sent to me, man. I mean, I'm just going to jump right into it, man. I mean, the most popular question that's been asked today is, what made you want to become a ring announcer instead of a radio host, instead of someone that does voiceovers, or have you done some voiceovers? Because I can see you doing some stuff for Walt Disney, my man.
I started as a radio disc jockey.
There you are.
At the age of 19. I did that for about 10 years. I worked in various formats. I did everything from traffic reports to top 40 music to Tejano. There was a couple times when I guess my biggest claim to fame in Tejano was I brought Selena on stage a few times at some of her concerts. And I do voiceovers now. I've done voiceovers for quite a few years now. I do them for Top Rank. I do them for Combate Americas. I've done them for a few independent promotions and also for some other things that have nothing to do with boxing. A few lawyers, a few food commercials. So I'm involved in a little bit of that. And I've also done a little bit of narration as well.
Oh, man, there you are, man. But I can see you doing some voiceovers on a cartoon even. I mean, you got that personality, man. You got that charisma about yourself, man. Let me just, if you weren't gifted with that golden voice, what profession would you be seeking?
It's hard to say. As you mentioned before, what was it that drove me to ring announcing was it really found me, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was, as I mentioned before, a few years back, and I was also training at a Muay Thai kickboxing gym. And the promoter at the time, or the gym owner at the time, was going to be promoting some event.
Okay.
And this was even before they called it MMA. At the time, they were calling it NHB, No Holds Barred. And he needed an announcer. And he said, "Look, I know you're in radio. I know you worked before concerts. You've done bars. You've done all these other events. You want to be the ring announcer?" So I said, "Sure, it'd be something fun to try." I don't believe I even got paid. He just I believe he paid for the tuxedo that we rented. I went into the ring, kind of did it off the cuff. And from there, fortunately, I saw an advertisement where Top Rank was looking for someone to replace the ring announcer that they had on their Univision show. And I submitted my info. It was a contest, so to speak. And I happened to be the fortunate one who won the contest. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Wow, that answers that question. A lot of people are asking, where did you start? And there was an opportunity created. You grabbed it, and you rode this wave, man, and now you're here. And as they say, the rest is history. Carol, I mean, no, go ahead,
was
sir.
Something like as you said, that it was an opportunity that was there. When I first got the opportunity, I thought it was going to be a matter of, they were going to let me do a show. They were going to give me a videotape of my performance. They would give me a T-shirt or something and say, "Hey, hope you had fun." Hasta la vista, as they say. But no, it just kind of snowballed from there. Like I started working with Top Rank. Top Rank kept calling me back, and I kept showing up. And sooner or later, opportunities came up where there was one chance where Michael Buffer was. I'm not sure exactly why he couldn't be at an event, but they basically called me up and said, "Hey, you're the starting quarterback tonight." And I had the chance to do it. My first HBO. It was Vladimir Klitschko against Jameel McCline, and it was Floyd Mayweather against Jose Luis Castillo. Two, I believe.
Oh, okay, the rematch.
So, the rematch,
Mike's
yeah.
out.
So those opportunities can come up, and it's something that in this business or in show business in general, you have to be ready to go when they give you the call, and when they give you the call, you better perform well. And luckily, I had the opportunity to do both.
Loopy, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Every event that I go to, I always keep a tie in my bag, just in case somebody gets a sore throat or something. Man, I'm like, okay. I'm like, when Drew Bledsoe got benched and they brought in Brady, he was ready. He wasn't just like, okay, what's the playbook, what have you. So I'm always joking around when I meet these guys, man. But when I met you in person, you seem to have just this amplified voice, man, that just comes deep within your chest. And that is a gift, man. I mean, let me ask you this. When do you not speak? How do you rest your voice from event to event?
I really don't give it all. I put that much thought into it, to be honest with you. The one things I do try to avoid. It sounds kind of mean, but I try to avoid small children. Small children are cute, but they tend to be sick all the time. They always have mocos, or they always got some sort of cough going on.
He said mocos.
So I try to avoid the small kids because they tend to be the ones that get you sick. On the airplanes as well.
Yeah.
You're in a confined space. We fly a couple 100,000 miles a year, so you're in those spaces that are pretty confined.
Yes.
So you try to avoid getting sick because there's no sick days for you. You have to be able to perform, and you have to be able to be ready to go. And as you said, I've always compared being a ring announcer to being a backup quarterback. In this profession, you have basically two guys that dominate the business, and Jimmy Lennon and Michael Buffer. When you see a big fight, those are the two guys that are there. They're very well entrenched. They're very well established. But as you mentioned, there's always that moment which you never know what might happen. You never know when that opportunity might come up. And like you said, you got to be in a position ready to go.
Well, Loopy, they may dominate right now, on the microphone, but my money's on you. I think you can kick both their asses at the same time. What do you think, Carol? I mean, can you work his corner if he decides to get in the ring or the octagon?
Most definitely. Didn't you just see that picture? He had those gloves on.
Oh yeah,
Like he had some MMA gloves.
Oh, he did. We put up a picture where you're wearing your suit and you got some MMA gloves. The only thing missing is your mouthpiece, my man.
Look at there you go. Right
yeah,
there
you go. That's that 007 look.
I feel very confident that having her in my corner, that does give me a sense of confidence there.
Aww.
No, I mean it's one of those things where it's just a fact. It's another analogy that I use. It's kind of like being a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, no
those
doubt.
Supreme Court justices, they're there for life, and they don't go until they retire or they pass away. So you have to be in the position. And a lot of it too is about relationships. It's a business.
Yeah.
Certain promoters have relationships with certain announcers. Certain networks have relationships with certain announcers as well, or promoters. And there's a lot of factors that are involved. So it's
right.
And it's a fickle business as well. There are moments when a guy is in with one network, and then before you know it, something happens and the person is out. So you never know what might happen from day to day or year to year.
How much time do you need to prepare? Like when you're doing an event, I mean, say you're doing one this Saturday, how much time during that day do you need to prepare, or how far in advance do you prepare leading up to your event?
What I try to do the day of, I look over all the information that's handed to you. They give you the bout sheet. They give you the information from the commission with the judges, the refs. We also have a great staff on Top Rank. We have a publicity gentleman, a young guy named Evan Korn, who puts information together for you.
Yeah, no, Evan's a good guy.
He tells you who are the sponsors, who are the co-promoters, They give you the verbiage that's going to be used that night. Maybe Geico is sponsoring one night. Maybe another company is sponsoring another night. What venues you need to mention, what venues you shouldn't mention. So there's a lot of information that gets thrown into you, and it changes from event to event. So what I like to do is when I get done with an event, it's like a computer. I just erase all those files because I know I'm not going to need them anymore. And if I hold on to them, they're just going to interfere with the next event. So
That's
you
smart.
go through all that information, you get that stuff together. I probably do that sometime early afternoon. The day of a show, I try not to do much more than just sit at the hotel and wait for the event to begin.
Okay.
With some of our West Coast shows, the shows start really early. We'll get there probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The fight may start about 4:30. I go in there with what I like to do is I go up to every single fighter, and because the show is about them, so I go up to them. I ask them how they want to be introduced, how they want their name pronounced, any ring names, any towns that they want to mention. You have a lot of these fighters that perhaps they may be fighting in Fresno and they're from Fresno, but they're representing, I don't know, Cuauhtémoc, Chihuahua, Mexico, or something. It's very important for you to mention that, or important for you to mention that they were born somewhere else, but they're fighting here now. And as I said, that's without them, there is no show. So I try to give them the utmost respect and go up to each one individually and ask them what needs to be done. So I get to the event, and I just like to let things soak in. I really like when I do entire events. I like to do the event from the beginning till the end, because it allows you to loosen up. You get comfortable with the venue. You get comfortable with the advertisements and everything else that's involved. So for me, it's kind of a day-long thing, but it doesn't take up my whole day. But I try to focus on it pretty much from mid-afternoon up until the show's over with.
Okay, because I got plenty of questions coming in. Carol, what do you have?
Well, I can say definitely that I have witnessed you behind the scenes in the locker room where you do talk to the fighters and you ask them the same questions that you just mentioned about how they want their name pronounced or what city they're from. And I can see the mutual respect with the fighter and with him. So to me, I think that's a really amazing thing to do, because you try to build a little bit of a relationship to where when you're announcing it for them, I think it makes them feel at ease and like you almost know them. So
it's very important for me to establish that with the fighters. As I said, the thing that always excites me the most is when you're in the ring or when you're in the La Jaula with Combate Americas or wherever it might be, and you see the fighter getting excited with his own intro. You see the guy.
Exactly.
You see him punching his own chest or hitting his own head, or all of a sudden he just lets out this scream that.
That's right.
That you're like, man, I must have done that pretty well. If he got excited, then that made it all worth it.
That's
so
right.
There definitely is a mutual respect especially from my end towards them.
Yeah, no, that's very admirable. I think that's a really great way to start a night with all the fighters. And I know that there's a lot of questions that people have asked. They wanted to pretty much find out if, what is your preference? Do you like to ring announce for MMA or boxing, or, are you equally, do you enjoy both? I mean, what is your preference?
I do enjoy both. They're very different shows. People often ask me the question. They're like, oh, MMA's taking over or this and that, but they're two very different sports.
Good. Okay.
Two very different audiences.
Right.
Two very different atmospheres. I really enjoy both of them. They're different in the sense that with the MMA event, they tend to be much longer. Usually you'll have 10, sometimes 12 fights on the card.
Right.
In a boxing show, you'll have maybe 6, 8 fights at the most. And like I said, the atmosphere is very different. It's more of a party atmosphere at the MMA event.
Yeah, very true.
There's a lot of people there whom they have a direct connection with the fighters. You'll have a fighter who perhaps sold 50 tickets at the school that he trains at, as opposed to boxing, where it's a very isolated sport. The fighter typically doesn't have a direct relationship with the audience. They know him maybe through what they've seen on him in YouTube or some of the other things. But he's been training alone. It's him and maybe his sparring partners, and they're isolated somewhere. With the MMA shows, like I said, the guys are training at schools, they're training at gyms, gyms that are open to the public. You know, it's not like boxing where, you know, a guy will go up to Big Bear and it's a very secretive type of training camp where there's no filming, there's no, you know, going out, there's no socializing. But I really do enjoy both events, and it's a very different atmosphere. Obviously, I'm much more established in the boxing world than I am in the MMA world.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing though, because I've gone to MMA events and, you know, people have asked me, they're like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. How long have you been doing this? You know, you know, where have you done this before, or what do you do full time?"
That's awesome.
You know, so it does make it refreshing. It gives you an insight as to, you know, how things were a few years back.
That's great.
That's
Yeah,
good stuff.
no, there's definitely a difference between the excitement from the MMA and the fight. I mean,
I like the way he described MMA as a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Right.
You're right. How much space do you need, personal space, you know, when you're working? Because I know fans and followers, they want to take a picture, they want to say hello. Are you able to multitask, or you just stay focused on the event you're doing?
Yeah, I never reject anyone. I have conversations with people all the time, whether it be ringside. I mean, I'll be talking to somebody the entire time that the fight's going on.
Okay.
The only time that it may be distracting is if it's distracting the people that are watching the fight. You know,
Okay.
sometimes people want to take pictures or converse, and they want to stand up and they're blocking somebody's view. I mean, that's the only time I may call it to their attention. I'm going to say, "Hey, do you mind if we wait till between rounds and there's nothing going on?" But no, I'm always open to talking to people. I converse with people all the time. My main thing is that I'm horrible with names. So there's people that I've seen that I remember everyone's face.
Yeah.
So that's where I have an issue, where I've seen people numerous times and I've talked to them numerous times, but the name just escapes me. But I know it's the guy from here, or you're from Fresno, or you're from here, you know, either in Philadelphia or where it might be. But no, I'm open to talking with anyone at any time, and I'll stop and take a picture. Or, you know, I've never understood why people are offended when somebody wants to take a picture with them. I think you should take that as a compliment,
Absolutely.
as opposed to
Yeah.
being offended by it. I said, be offended when nobody wants a picture from you. That's when you should feel sad about it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're avoiding you. What's your year like? I mean, how many events do you do a year?
Probably now it's actually cut back a bit. Actually, I'm probably in the high 40s as far as the events are concerned.
Wow.
When we were doing the Solo Book Sale series, Solo Book Sale was 50 shows a year for 8 consecutive years, and that was just the Univision. That was just the Univision shows.
Wow.
Then we had some of the HBO shows. We had some of the independent promoters. It's actually a little bit of a relief. You know, when I first started ring announcing, I mean, I wanted to do every single show that was out there, and I would be jealous when I see some other guy doing a show I didn't get a chance to do. Not so much now. Now,
Right.
I
You're so established.
enjoy my time at home. I enjoy my time, you know, away from the airports. It can be very challenging. The one thing I've always had a hard time having people understand is that, say, for example, both you and I are in the same place, but we're having very different experiences. You're there having a good time, and I'm there working.
Exactly.
I always compare it to the bartender. Like, you're out at the club and you're having a good time, but the bartender's at the same place, but he's not having the same experience you are.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I've always had people have a hard time grasping, or with the travel aspect of it too. My friends and family, they think of travel as vacations, and work travel is very different. You tend to see the venue, you see the airport, and you see the hotel.
That's right.
And you'll get the opportunity to, you know, if you have a chance, catch a local site, or maybe go out to dinner somewhere. But it's a very different experience. And sometimes these trips, you know, they're out of the country. You're going to a completely different continent. And when you get there, you know, culturally things are very different. Shows are organized very different as well.
Right.
You know, there'll be venues where, I mean, there's no air conditioning is they have it, but they don't use it everywhere.
Right.
So some of these
That's
shows
crazy.
can be very, very hectic and very disorganized at times. But once you leave there, you leave mentally drained. And when the show's over, you know, people will be very nice, and they'll try and invite you to, you know, go out to dinner, but let's go have a drink, but let's go do that. But like I said, they don't realize you've been there since 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by this time it's 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night,
Right.
and you're ready to be done. So it can be a big feeling at times.
That's understandable.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, Carol, he's just going in and out. A lot of people think that
Right.
it's the limelight, but it is.
Right.
It is. It comes with it, but it's also work. It's also
True.
a living, and it's a career.
Yeah.
Here's one question for you. This is from me. Okay. If you were going to fight either in the boxing ring or the MMA cage, who would be your ring announcer?
My ring answer, I have to go with Michael Buffer.
Okay.
I mean, Michael, when you see Michael Buffer, it's you're in the big show. It's a big time fight, and I think that's what's always given him the best appeal. He's sort of that stamp of approval that when you see Michael Buffer, it's like seeing the Mercedes logo or like seeing the Rolls Royce logo. You know this is a high-end, high-dollar event, and it's a big show that you should be paying attention to.
Right.
So, yeah, he would be the guy that I would want announcing me. I've had the chance to work with him for various events and for many years. We're friendly, we're cordial with one another, and I've learned a lot from just watching him from both. The thing that's always impressed me about Michael is that celebrities ask him for pictures.
Wow.
That's one of those things where I've seen big time celebrities whip out their phones and take selfies with them. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, wow. Yes, it is.
And when you think of commercials and when you think of movies, who do you see in those commercials? Who do you see in those movies? You see Michael Buffer. He's the prototype for what an announcer should be and what we all strive for. He's the Babe Ruth. He's the Michael Jordan of ring announcing.
Right.
That kind of goes with my next question. What's the most important advice that you received that you really needed that and it really helped you get to that next level, or just kind of went with you and you felt confident knowing that you received that advice?
I've never really gotten advice per se. I think more than anything else, I've just observed people's behavior, and I observed what the top announcers were doing, like the Jimmy Lennon, Michael Buffer. And just the best thing to do is to stick out on your own. There's got to be something about you that nobody else can offer.
Right.
I mean, if you go in there and you're trying to do a Michael Buffer impression, or you're trying to do a Bruce Buffer impression, to me, it's kind of like a guy trying to become famous by being a Michael Jackson impersonator.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No one sees you; they just see Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
So there's no way for you to make yourself stick out. And the thing about it is, you have to have that one little aspect about you that makes you special, that makes people want to come to you, whether it be your voice, whether it be that you can do things in English and Spanish,
Right.
whether you're just a guy that people like. Or you're easy to work with. But I think the biggest thing that I've stuck with is the fact that when you're a professional, a lot of people think professional means you become demanding, you become a diva. And to me, being a
Right.
professional is making everybody else's job easier. That when they see you, they've got nothing to worry about.
Right.
If they see that you're there, they're as calm as can be. Things are being handled. Things are going to be taken care of. I've got one less thing to worry about.
That's awesome.
And I think probably that's the one thing that being involved in this industry that has stuck with me the most is if you're a pro, people have one less thing that they need to be concerned about, and they're going to call you back every single time.
That's outstanding. I mean, that's a true professional right there.
Yeah, it seems to just have everything from all the shows that he's doing as well, and just learning to continue to learn, and just that attitude
Right.
that he has. Because I've witnessed him. There's other ring announcers. They're busy. I understand that, but I've always seen Loopy make time for his fans and his followers,
Always.
and in the promoter as well. That's one of the questions. What do you ask for from a promoter? When I say ask for, do you ask for, okay, I need a certain area to prepare, or some water, or what is it that you require that's needed?
I actually don't request anything.
Okay.
The only thing I request is to get paid.
I heard that.
That's great.
And I've always said that it's a business where if you expect to get patted on the back and you expect people to tell you how great you did every single show,
Yeah.
promoter's patting on the back is him calling you in the first place.
There
The
you
fact
go.
that he called you to do their show, that's the biggest compliment you can get. And the pat on the back is the the zeros and decimal points that show up on your check.
There you
That's the only thing you should require.
Well, that's right. I mean, you're doing really well.
I mean, you show up, you get paid. It's a mutual relationship. You do a good job, they pay you the money you guys agreed to, and
Right.
that's really all that needs to be done. I don't request a certain type of room. I don't request a certain type of flight. I don't request a certain type of meal or place.
You're such a
That's,
simple guy. A simple guy.
at the
That's
side of the
amazing.
Well, I mean, I think when you start doing those things, sometimes those requests can't be fulfilled.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it can't be fulfilled, then maybe they're not going to call you anymore. They're
True.
going to call somebody else.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is give someone a reason not to call you. I mean, there's so many guys out there that would like to be in the position that you're in. That you have to realize that it's a position that's coveted. It's a position that not everybody has a chance to do. And the fact that you're doing it, you should appreciate it. You should. I always tell my friends, I mean, if it wasn't for a few fortunate accidents, who knows what job I might be doing now. It might be a much harder job. Maybe it might have been an easier job, but it certainly wouldn't be a job that has all these fun elements and aspects that this one does.
Wow.
No, man. I mean, that's. I mean, you got quite a story there. My next question was going to be: have you ever thought about putting together like seminars, like talking to young ring announcers, or talking to even other ring announcers, giving them tips, giving them pointers? I mean, critiquing them. Have you ever thought about that?
It's tough. I'll give people advice if they ask for it. I never volunteer it.
Okay.
And I always have a really hard time critiquing other announcers because, for lack of a better term, I mean, it, as the kids would say, it makes you look like a hater if you're criticizing
okay.
certain
Yeah.
announcers or you're telling a guy he should do it this way or you're telling me he should do it that way. If somebody asks me for pointers and tips, there are people that reach out to me occasionally.
Yeah.
And they'll have me review their videos and I'll tell the guy simple things such as especially if you're on camera, you should be addressing the camera. You shouldn't be looking down and reading your notes and look like you got to address the audience. The audience is there. You talk to the audience, make the audience feel that they're at something. The one thing I've always had a hard time with or the one advice I've always given people is that don't make the audience in the arena feel like they're intruding on a television show. Make the people at home feel like, damn, I should have gotten in my car and bought a ticket. I wish I was there.
Right.
Don't talk into the camera and make the audience feel like I said, like they're a studio audience. Make the person at home feel
That's a
like they're
good point.
missing out on something. Make them feel like I should have bought a ticket. I should have gotten out of my chair and gone there. So if you've ever noticed when I address the audience, I'm not talking to the camera. I'm talking to the audience that's there. Because they made that extra effort to get out of their house and actually come buy a ticket, be in the crowd. And as I said, that's the next time that you have an event in Fresno or the next time you have an event in Stockton or wherever it might be, those people are like, man, I should have been there. I missed out on something. I missed out on the place to be tonight, as opposed to making the audience feel like they're, just a studio audience or they're a prop in the background.
When do you ever say, you know what, I'm not going to work today. I'm going to go to an event and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to sit down and watch the event. I mean, because I asked Carol the same question because she's always working cut corners for different fighters. And I asked her, when does she just show up and enjoy the event? When do you buy a ticket or just show up to an event and say, you know what, today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch and appreciate the sport that I work for?
It's tough, because it's kind of like, working at CC's Pizza, and then when it comes time for dinner, you go eat dinner at CC's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
It
Okay.
just,
That's
it
what I
just feels
thought.
like you're going to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm the guy that I'll buy pay-per-views and I'll sit at home and watch them by myself.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Where that's how I enjoy it. Where it's often tough to, and I hate to sound like a boxing snob, but there's nothing worse than talking boxing with somebody that knows nothing about boxing.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
it can be a mind-numbing conversation where they'll bring up stuff.
That and a disappointment sometimes.
Yeah.
I go, I've been
Yeah, I
talking.
mean,
I've been
but-
talking 5 minutes, and you've been agreeing, and now you're what? Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. I hear you.
Or they'll bring up topics that they'll bring up fights that one never happened, or they'll bring up matchups that they're like, what if Canelo fought Anthony Joshua? And it's like,
Oh my
if you knew
God.
anything about boxing, that wouldn't happen.
Yes.
Or they'll bring up some ludicrous, these ludicrous things like they'll tell me that boxing is fixed, so they'll say, this and that happened, and you try to reason with them, but after a while you just realize that they have a certain concept of boxing that they've learned from watching Rocky movies or
Right.
from watching these old things that they really don't know. And then they'll bring up some stuff where they'll say, I'm a fan of boxing, but I'm a fan of boxing, back like when Mike Tyson fought. I said, well, okay, that was 30 years ago, man.
Yeah.
What about Lomachenko? What about Andy Ruiz? What about some of the guys that are fighting now? Talk to me about those guys. And they
Right.
have no real concept of what's going on in boxing right now. So it can be tough sometimes to go
Yeah.
to an event because it feels like work. I mean, I've done it. Sometimes a few years back they had a really big fight here with Canelo and James Kirkland at the baseball stadium, so I went to go check that out. But yeah, usually if I want to watch the fight and I want to watch it in peace, I'll just watch it at home.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
okay.
That's the best place to do.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. What's your old take on that, Carol?
I agree with that. It is work, and so it's not easy to really enjoy
Yeah.
the entertainment side of a sport, or just to enjoy and respect it. And so I agree with that, to be able to be at home in your own, in your own house.
And when you're
just
there at
watch
the
it.
event, it's kind of hard to relax. I'm sure you get the feeling like you should be doing something,
Yes,
and it's hard to relax because it feels so much like work.
right.
Yeah.
No, I can understand that. So who is your favorite fighter?
Currently,
Yeah, currently and also maybe of all time.
I really enjoyed watching, obviously some of the top guys that we have, Lomachenko. I like the brashness of Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah.
Some of the all-time guys. I had the pleasure of being at the Manny Pacquiao events, and I've never seen a fighter more beloved by his fans, and also a guy who enjoyed fame as much as Manny Pacquiao did.
Oh, no
Where
kidding.
he was a guy that would sign every autograph, take every single picture, and the whole time he's smiling, just
Right.
a ball of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was like a 2-year-old running around the house after eating a box of chocolate chip cookies or something. The guy just didn't run out of energy.
Yeah.
And just to see how loved he was by his countrymen. We did a series of fights with him in Macau, China, and I mean, it literally was. I would imagine it was like when Elvis would walk into a room somewhere. It was very comparable
bet.
to that, where the people literally stopped and whatever was going on, they just to get a look at him in person made their entire day, made their entire year, whatever it might be. So.
Right.
So those guys are really entertaining to me. I also like to see some of the up and coming fighters when just to see how they develop, how they see how they come along, and and just to check them out and see how they're evolving as fighters.
Yeah.
From 4-rounders to 6-rounders to fighting in some of the 12-round events.
Right.
On that note, I'm going to ask you this. What's your take on, because you've done Jose Ramirez, who is now a unified champion, WBC super lightweight, WBO. You've done some of his fights before he was crowned the champion. I mean, in your view, how has he evolved, progressed?
I think he's in his last fight against Maurice Hooker.
Yeah.
He impressed me tremendously. That was a rugged fight.
It was.
I don't think he's got enough credit for what he did.
I agree.
If he came into the guy's home territory, which I mean, we all know that Jose, can sell 18,000 seats in Fresno fighting anybody, but to come into the other guy's home turf, an undefeated fighter, and to do what he did, I mean, not only did he beat him, but he beat him in a convincing no doubt type of fashion, left him hanging
Yes.
on the rope
Right.
Yes.
in front of his hometown crowd,
I know.
and literally won the crowd over. If you saw the end of the fight, everyone was on their feet. There was no
Yes.
booing.
Yeah.
There was a respect shown to him, like that. You came in here and you whooped our guy, and you went home with the belt.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was incredibly impressed by that. As a person, I don't think anything has changed about Jose from the time that I was announcing him 4-rounders to him now. You know, when you talked about a person.
Well, I got to disagree with you. I got to disagree with you, Lupe, on that. There has been something that's
Okay.
changed, and that is
What's
his
that?
bank account.
Well, the bank account, yes. The bank account has changed.
Oh yes,
I heard he made a really nice chunk of change for that fight that he had in Texas.
yes, he did.
But yeah, I mean, he's always treated everybody with respect. He takes pictures with everyone. He's
Yes, he
always
does.
in a good mood. And yeah, I mean, he's to me, he's Fresno's professional sports franchise. I think you guys
Yeah.
have something to be very very proud of, and a great person to look after. And for a while there, it was hard to say whether he was just a big fish in a small pond type guy.
Yeah.
But I think after this fight, I think he's the top guy at 140 pounds.
I agree. He proved himself that night for sure.
Yeah, no, he did agree. And also on that note, hey, a late happy birthday to Jose Ramirez. I mean, yesterday was his birthday.
Happy
And,
birthday, champ.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, champ. I mean, and he's a great father, too. I mean, he posted a picture of him and his son, and I commented on there. I said twins because
yeah.
they look identical. And
They do.
he went there to the school, and I believe he spoke at the school as well, dropped off his son, first day of kindergarten, I believe. And
That's so
he's
awesome.
loving life right now. And I told him this, Lupe, we met him at the airport when the first time he won the WBC bout. And I said, you're our mouthpiece. You're our piece. We have a champion now. Because of you, we're smiling. It's like back in the day. I'm not making the comparison, but back in the day when Julio Cesar Chavez would fight, everybody was barbecuing. Everybody stopped what they were doing. Chavez was fighting. It's a Saturday. They made us feel good as a whole, and we have ourselves a champion, and that's the way I feel. And he has that weight on his shoulder, but I don't call it weight. I call it motivation because he seems to get better and better and push through adversity. And I truly believe we've only seen just a spectacle of what's to come in his career.
One thing I have to compliment him on is that he has taken upon some responsibilities that he didn't have to. The issues with the migrant workers,
Yes.
the fight for
Right.
water.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there who would say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. That's too much responsibility. I'm just a boxer.
Right.
I can fight, I can cash my checks, and I can go home.
Right.
And he's taking it upon himself to take on some bigger causes outside of the sport. To me, that's probably the most admirable part of it because, like I said, he doesn't
True.
have to do that.
Yeah.
It's not stuff that he's making money off of. And as a matter of fact, sometimes it can be something that can cost him money because he's turning certain sponsors off, or
Yeah.
he may take on some controversial topic that somebody might not like.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of athletes are afraid to do that because they think it's going to affect their bottom line.
Right.
And he hasn't been scared to take that upon himself.
I mean, still to this day. I mean, his dad goes to every single fight. His mom now goes to every single fight. She was able to go to New York to watch him win that bout. I mean, and it's the foundation that he has from his family and his ethics and his morals and just. I say that because I see success change people, and he seems to. The only thing I see him doing now is smiling more.
Right.
Of course, I mean, and he has a lot to be proud of, but he's not done. And I remember one time you announced his name. I think it was against, gosh dang it, it was another undefeated fighter. And you talk about him jumping up and down once he heard his name. It was a combination of you announcing him and the roar of Fresno. It was so loud there, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you honestly needed earplugs, but it was just a roar once you announced his name.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere there in Fresno. They've done a great job promoting him there.
That's right.
I'm still waiting for that big fight at the baseball stadium. I think the place will be jam-packed.
At the Chichansee?
Yeah, Chichansee Park. Yeah,
Chichansee.
That's what I'm hearing too. And I'm hearing they're trying to put a local grudge match on there, which I don't have all the facts on yet, so I won't comment on it too much. But speaking of grudge matches, I remember you were the announcer for Kilo the Kid Madera and Joe Louis Lopez, a smoke show, and it lived up to all the hype and expectation.
The bloodiest fight I've ever seen in my life.
Really? It was, huh? It was actually pretty bloody. Now
That was
I
a great
remember.
fight, though.
It really was.
It was a great fight. It was a mess, though. I mean, there was blood everywhere. I think I may have had to throw away at least the shirt, if not the entire tuxedo that night. It was pretty bloody, but it was very entertaining. You know, you're two big characters, two big personalities, and you got to love it when they settle it in the ring. And definitely, Kilo was the better fighter that night, and also he was covered in blood, but it wasn't his blood. It was,
Right.
It was Joe Louis Lopez's blood.
That's right.
It's I don't know if it's past or not, but I would like to see them run that
Rematch?
back again.
Do a rematch?
Yeah, but I mean, there's some good matches for Kilo. I mean, I could see Kilo with Fresno's own Joe Louis Lopez, Fresno's own Madman Marcos Hernandez, or Tulari's Daniel El Chapulín Valdivia. I mean, there's some matches here that can hold some water and fill the seats.
Right.
Real quick, what's your take on Gabriel Flores Jr. out of Stockton, California?
I think the most important thing about fighters is for them to have that connection with the audience, and I think Gabe definitely has that. You can have
Sure does.
you can have a lot of fighters who have a tremendous amount of talent and they're very dedicated, but if no one cares to come out and see you, then what's the point?
Yeah.
One of the best abilities that a promoter looks at is the guy's ability to put butts in the seats, and he definitely does that. The thing about him, too, is he's such a young kid that we forget that he signed this contract at 16. And,
Exactly.
And, what is he 19 right now? Or
No, 18.
He's 18, yeah.
He's 18.
Yeah.
He's 18 years
Yeah,
old.
he's 18.
And the thing that I always recall is that people don't realize he's fighting grown men.
Oh, I'm sorry, he may be
fighting-
19. I think he's
I think he
19.
just- I think
Yeah,
he just
because
turned
I remember he
19.
was cutting the cake once again when he fought in Stockton. So correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I'll probably get a text from his dad. But yeah,
No,
18 or 19.
He's still developing. He's still a
Yeah.
work in progress.
Yeah.
But as I said, he's a guy fighting grown men in there.
Very
Yes,
good
sir.
point.
And he's knocking some of them out cold.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize what a difference there is between a person who's 19 years old and you're fighting a guy who's 32, who's in the prime of his athletic prowess. Whether, they may have the boxing ability or not to match up with his, that still evens out the fight, where you got a strong guy, you've got a mature guy, and what's helping the other guy is his ability as a boxer. So I think he's still developing. I like what he's done. The last time we were in Stockton, he had that place sold out,
Oh,
and
man,
it was
yeah.
it was an afternoon show,
Yes.
Right.
and there were people. The one thing that impressed me the most was
I believe it was Sunday
believe-
too, right? No. It was Saturday. Sunday was
It was a
the
Saturday
Ramirez
event.
fight in Fresno. Yeah.
it was a Saturday event.
Yes, it was.
But there was a line around the
Stadium.
the venue to get into the
Yes.
building, which I found I hadn't seen that in a long time. I mean, you see that at Vegas fights,
Yeah.
but for it to be Stockton, it became an event. He made that boxing an event, whether you were into boxing or not. He made it to where the person was like, you know what, I got to be there that night.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's exactly what happened. So, he's still a work in progress, but the work thus far has been good. And as I said, he's been able to fill up a respectable sized arena. And at 19, I mean, God, who else can say that?
Yeah,
who
Yeah,
else-
exactly.
Exactly.
who else can say that?
Exactly. Carol, you said it best. You were at that event, and you said, Richard, you said there was a change of energy. You can feel the energy
Oh, yeah.
around the Coliseum and inside the event itself. And give us your take as you look back in that and address the comment that was made. Only 19 years old, and yet he's the future of boxing.
Yeah, no, I mean, he has all of the positive energy and the vibes that are wherever he goes, it follows. I think the people that love boxing, they really admire him, and they see that he has the talent. He's been signed at a very young age, but he's actually proven himself. He's backing it up. And like Lupe had mentioned, he's a work in progress. He's still
Yeah.
19 years old, and
Yeah.
he's fighting adults, men,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
But he is coming along great and has such a promising future.
Yeah, and there's no rush. There's no rush. I mean, the talent is there, and he continues to get better.
Absolutely.
Loopy, I got to pick your brain a little bit, and I'm not trying to be one of those fans that you say that you bump into. I want to know today's dream match. If you could put together a dream match, I'm going to put the promoter hat on you. What two fighters today, even if you had to make adjustments in weight, I'm not talking about a middleweight fighting a heavyweight, that's just crazy. I'm talking about within a 5 to 10 pound difference. What two fighters would you put together? Forget who they're signed with or who their promoters are. Let's make some dream matches.
I think one of the most interesting fights right now, or two of the ones that I would like to see the most, would be Crawford against Spence.
Oh, yeah, great.
I think that's a fantastic fight where you've got an extremely skilled guy against another guy who's very skilled and also bigger and stronger. That would be a fight that I think would be a historic fight where people would be talking about it, you know, like Leonard Hagler, you know, Leonard
Yeah.
Hearns type of situation. I would also really like to see Gervonta Davis against Lomachenko.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
In
yeah,
the sense
that's a good
that
one.
you've got a little tank, basically, which is what he is. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a thick neck tank against a finesse, you know, technician in Lomachenko. Those would be two of the fights that I would really like to see. Obviously, you know, as you said, there's some barriers to making that fight.
Yeah.
Another one too that
Yeah, and you know what? You were there. You talk about barriers. You were there at that press conference, and Bob Arum addressed that pretty clear on that. I remember a reporter asked that question, and Bob Arum was pretty aggressive on that. He made that very clear. Do you remember on the Lomachenko in LA when we talked?
Everybody wants to happen,
Yeah.
and he said, you know, that he would love to have a call returned or whatever it might be. But like I said, you know, the business of boxing is very
Yeah.
different from the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own interests, and it's difficult to make certain things happen. But yeah, that would be a fantastic fight. Another one that I would have loved to have seen the Ruiz-Joshua matchup take place on the West Coast.
Oh, yes.
Can you imagine?
Oh man.
You know, the throngs of Mexicans that would have shown up to
Oh,
see
my God, it would have been
Andy
sold
Ruiz
out.
take on Joshua. I mean, you could have sold out every arena in Vegas,
Yeah.
every arena in Southern California,
That's right.
and basically charge a premium for the ticket.
That's so
And,
true.
So I was a little disappointed that it ended up where it did end up, but yeah, I think I would have loved to have seen that because of obviously the historic nature of what Andy Ruiz did, and he's another guy whom I've had the chance to do a lot of his earlier fights.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I'm very happy for him for the fact that he had the opportunity to do that, and certainly, you know, they've compared him to being a Mexican Rocky, and he certainly fits that criteria.
Yeah, he does. I remember you did one of his fights at Tachi Palace years
right.
back in Lemoore.
Correct. Yeah, he was the main event at one of the outdoor events that we had there.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You know, I know you got a gang of questions for Loopy, man, and they keep coming into you, Carol. You got to share some of the questions, 'cause I keep seeing you delete them and pass them off, man. I mean, come on,
okay.
unload these things.
A simple question, you know. You're an experienced ring announcer. Do you ever get any nerves or nervousness of any kind prior to any event? I know you mentioned what you do for the day prior to your events, but I mean, are there any kind of unsettled nerves, or is it just you're just so experienced that it's just another day at the office kind of thing?
Every now and then you'll get some butterflies, but I wouldn't call it. It's not necessarily that you're nervous, that you're afraid about what you're going to do. You're
Right.
you're going through over the information. As I said, information changes from show to show.
Right.
The network changes, the promoters change sometimes. Certain taglines that they've added in there. Maybe there'll be a new movie that's debuting that night. And like I said, I try to do as much as I can from memory and
Right.
not look down at the cards because obviously you're on camera. So you get nervous about those types of things.
Right.
And you still get excited about, as I've said, one of the things that I like doing is going in there when the arena is completely empty.
That's nice.
It's very different to walk into an arena and it's completely full already. It can be a bit overwhelming at times when you know people are yelling, people are ready to go, and it's like everything else. Where you have to be calm, because when you get too excited, you mess up and you make mistakes. So you try to take a few deep breaths. There's a moment where when the fighters are coming, I'm up against the back ropes. Usually, I'll be chatting with our top ranked girls. We'll be talking about something silly and just trying to relax. And then once the fighters come in, we take that step to our cue, which is the top ranked logo, and then you're just waiting for the floor manager to give you the sign, or Joe Tessitore, or whomever it might be. Say, well, now we're going to Lupe for the announcements.
Yeah.
And from then on, it's you got to go, and you get one crack and one shot only. There's no redos. There's no timeouts. There's no,
Right.
hey, let's do this over again. You have to go from there and try to do it as well as possible and as flawlessly as possible.
Right.
You got to be witty as well, and you have all of that. I mean, you seem to, if ever you hit a rough patch, I mean, no one even knows because you just do it with stride. And I've watched you, I've studied you, I've even watched the way you conduct the weigh-ins. I mean, you bring excitement to the weigh-ins, man.
Oh, well, thank you. And as it's part of your job. As a ring announcer, you're part carnival barker, you're part, you're part cheerleader, you're part salesman. At the weigh-in, it's really the last opportunity to get someone interested in the fight.
That's true.
At the weigh-ins, you're there to if a person's on the fence about getting a ticket or not, it's up to you to add that little flair to the weigh-in or some of the intros that
Right.
makes this person say, you know what, I'm not going to stay home. I'm going to go to this event. Or there's so many options that people have. They can stay home and watch Netflix. They can go to the movies. They can watch a baseball game.
Right.
They can just hang out at a buddy's house. And if you can convince them to spend their money and go to a show, I mean, that's the hardest thing to do in boxing is separate a person from their hard-earned money, because you're trying to get them to show up to an event.
Well, you do a great
There's
job.
so much competition out there.
Yeah, you do a great
Thank you.
job, making it exciting and making the viewers or the, fans really want to come out and see the fight. I think he does a fantastic job on that.
No, I wish I would have got some sound bites, because I was talking to people, letting them know that you're going to be on the show today. And I'm keeping it real, man. I was talking to some people at work, and they go, oh, Lupe, he's badass, man. I go, yeah, he's this, he's that. And he goes, I think he used to fight, and I'm not too sure. So he was giving me his information, but I wasn't too sure. I didn't want to ask these questions and not do the research altogether. But no, that's what that's coming from the people that watch, that buy tickets, that are fans, that are followers and supporters, man. So just letting you know, man, you're a lot larger than what you think, or you're just being humble about it, man. But like I told you before, and I didn't want to disrespect the classy one, but you're the best in the game. Best in the sport, rather.
Well, thank you, man.
I do agree.
I appreciate that. And as I always say, my mom tells me the exact same thing.
Aw.
Oh, there you go. Of course, man. You
That's
got mama's
awesome.
blessing.
If your mom tells you that, then you have to believe that. You have to realize
Yeah.
that.
It has to. She has no bias whatsoever. She's she's as neutral as it gets.
That's wonderful.
No, man. And well, hey, yeah, that's good to get honesty too. And one thing I can't thank you enough, but whether you know it or not, me and you, we're going to be forever connected, because you stood up at Save Mart Center, which I had no idea. You got to remember, I had no idea this was going to take place, because I would have had everybody in my family there. I would have prepared for it. Next thing I know, you're doing a 10 count for my son.
Aw.
And I just,
Wow.
I'm a strong person. And to this day, the fighter's voice, I am the original fighter's voice, because I chose to fight and continue to go on and move forward and do something positive with my son's celebration. So after every interview, I always give a thumbs up for Richie. But that day, I couldn't even talk or walk. So we're forever going to be connected, man. And whether it was on the agenda or not, I mean, I always look back at that and I see you as the person who gave my son a 10 count. And actually, that's his favorite number. So that worked out very well. Remember that in Fresno, California?
Wow.
Well, it was my honor to be a part of that.
Thank you.
With the 10 count, as I've always said, it's our tradition in boxing where we not only honor for what they did inside of the ring, but more importantly, what their lives were like outside of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a very important moment. And every time we do a 10 count for someone, I try to take it as seriously as possible. I try to do them as good a service as possible, even though there may be people that I've never met before in my life,
Yeah.
or there's some people that I've known a great deal. That's a very important moment, and you see what happens in an event. I mean, people know what that means.
Right.
Where they may have their beer in their hand, and you see somebody next to them slap them and say, "Hey, be quiet."
Mm-hmm.
This is important. We need
Yeah.
your attention. and the crowd definitely gives him that.
Right, to give that
So, I
respect.
mean, it was my pleasure and my honor to be a part of that 10 Calvary Sun.
Wow, that's
No,
amazing.
no, I
mean, it gives me
appreciate
goosebumps
that.
right now just thinking about that. That was really wonderful for you
No,
to do,
it was.
Louis.
It was an awesome moment for me. It was a special day, and we had some people behind the scenes that made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And one that continues to do that, man. I woke up in the morning. I didn't even see it until later on. Sean Gibbons. I mean, he tagged me on wherever he goes. He's always giving a thumbs up for Richie. He'll
That's
go all
great.
over the world, and you know, a lot of people don't know the whole story, and you know, that's a whole different segment. Once we got that platform, people will know the whole story, but. You're now a part of that story, Loopy. Just letting you know, man. And I'm not jocking you. I'm not trying to get all that, but no, you are. Like I said, you know, even the man who
thank
did
you.
my artwork of my son on my arm, I told him his name is Rico from Red Wave in Fresno. I said we're forever connected. Mm-hmm. So, and
Thank
so,
you. And Sean Gibbons is one of my favorite people in the boxing world too.
Oh, that's
a
amazing.
great
We
guy,
go way
classy
back.
guy. Great guy, classy guy. I'm about to say something scary, but it's kind of funny too. So me and even Rick Morrigan, we're forever connected because I know he was quarterbacking that whole thing. So yeah, me and the man himself, we're forever connected. Whether he wants to be connected or not, he shows some class and some love that day. I respect what he's doing. Nobody does it like him. And you know, I used to almost say, Loopy, nobody does it like him in the Central Valley. No, I can honestly say that nobody does it like him worldwide. Because the man literally does not sleep. He's constantly working and thinking of another day and another way to be successful.
He truly is. You know, he's one of those guys that he's always going, man. And I respect what he does, but I don't envy him in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I heard
You
that.
didn't want
His
his
phone never
job.
stops ringing.
Right.
Somebody wants tickets. Somebody wants this. Somebody wants an interview. Somebody wants that. I don't think I've ever seen the guy not sweating bullets one time, regardless of what's going on, because he's always moving.
Right.
He's always going, and he's a big factor as to why the Save Mart Center gets sold out, or why
Yeah.
the Saatchi Palace gets sold out, and why Fresno is one of the our favorite places to go to in the Central Valley.
Absolutely. Carol, he gave you some likes today. He gave you some comments on your work today.
Yes, he did.
I mean, he knows what you're doing.
Thanks,
he knows
Rick.
you're out there grinding and making
Yeah.
it happen,
It's
and
nice
that you're
to know
part.
that he's
You're part of
noticing
the
it.
only voice that matters, the fighter's voice. So is
Yes.
Loopy.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. You know, it was nice to see the acknowledgement from him.
Exactly.
I really appreciated that.
Exactly. But see, Loopy don't know what's about to hit him because next time he's in Fresno, California, on doing either Combate Americas or Top Rank, man, we're gonna pick him up and bring him to the Fighter's Voice studio.
Yes. we're
How does
gonna
that sound,
kidnap
Loopy?
him. That's right.
That sounds good to me. I haven't been in a radio studio in years. It'll bring back some memories. Of course, you know, when I started radio, we still had record players and digicart machines.
Yeah.
So it'll be quite a shock to see everything digital, everything computerized. Because I go way back, man. I go back to the 78s and the 30, whatever, the 32s or whatever we used to
Oh
have,
dang, yeah, the
45s.
45s, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the penny
when I
on the
first
needle.
started, we were still doing that. AM radio, man.
Oh yeah, AM radio,
Wow.
and
that goes
the
back.
black and white TV and the color TV.
As long as
That's
it's not
true.
the Victrola days.
What was that? Oh, where you got to wind that thing up?
Yeah.
What you know about?
Victrola with the big cone sticking
Yeah,
out of it.
exactly. With the big speaker and the Victrola and the little dog, you know, and you
Yeah,
wind
the
it up.
confused dog looking into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, on that note, you don't know anything about. Remember the washer? My mom would put it through that thing, and it would kind of
Yes.
like ring itself out,
Uh-huh.
and she'd hang it up. It'd go from it'd go from our kitchen to, yeah, in the middle of our kitchen. We hung our towels up there, man, our clothes.
You had a
That's where we
clothesline
were.
through
Yeah,
your house.
yeah, we did.
That's great. Okay. Well,
Shoot.
that's old school,
Well,
right?
that's us.
That's right.
What about you, Lupe? I mean, what's your? I mean, I know you love homemade tortillas, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, people are always people always ask me certain questions, and I think what a lot of people don't realize about me is I was born in Mexico. I grew up in
Oh.
Mexico for the first 5 years of my life.
Oh, I didn't
when you
know
talk
that.
about washing the clothes in the living room, we used to live in basically a 2-bedroom shack with tin roof, and we actually. Carol, do you know what an outhouse is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
We had an outhouse where
It was
basically,
like-
for those who don't know, it was a wooden shack outside where you go use the bathroom. That was your
That's right.
bathroom.
Yep.
It's not connected
So,
to the house. It's like almost in the
Yeah,
wilderness.
so we've had all the and it would move around periodically because after a while the hole gets filled up.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah, you got to do what
so
you
yeah,
got to
so
do.
I lived, as they say, I'm about that life too. You know? So I've
Okay.
seen that aspect of it as well.
Good.
Now, hey,
Well,
no, Loopy's real, man. He's a
that's for
real one right
sure.
here. Don't let the tuxedo and the voice fool you.
No, no.
I mean, we'll go to a
Yeah,
taco
like
truck
that.
right. We'll go to a taco truck right now.
A little soap and water can make anybody look good.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. So is that where you became bilingual from growing up in Mexico, and you came here after you were 5 years old, and you just
Well-
continue to speak the language, and that's 'cause
Well,
you,
the thing about, I think what a lot of people forget, people always talk about the fact that, you need to learn English, you need to learn English.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about learning English. If you forget Spanish,
right.
you can't escape English. And the same thing happened to me where, through my adolescent years, I really didn't speak Spanish. Everything I saw, I watched English TV, listened to English music. You understood Spanish,
Right.
but perhaps you didn't have a complete command of it. And, people always ask me, they're like, you're able to flow from English to Spanish very easily. I said, well, that's nothing new to us. That's what we do at home. You talk to your mom and
Right.
dad in Spanish, and then you flip over and you talk to your brother in English, or you talk to your little sister in English, and then you go back talking to grandma in Spanish.
Right.
So it's something that you've always practiced. It just gave me the opportunity to show this off in boxing, where I don't know where else I would have had the chance to do that.
Wow,
But,
you're very
but
fortunate
yeah, no,
for
it's
that.
something that you develop it after a while. And even though Spanish is my first language, I
Right.
still consider English my dominant language.
That's good.
And back in 2009 and 2010, I had the opportunity to do a show with TV Azteca. It's called Campeón Azteca, which basically was the Mexican version of like The Contender, where they
Oh,
would bring
Oh,
out
wow.
fighters, and it was a reality show.
oh,
And
that's
we went
awesome.
basically to every corner of Mexico, and
Wow.
and it really helped my Spanish a lot in the sense that you got to learn an academic Spanish.
Sure.
You got to learn the proper way of saying certain things, and you realize, wow, I've been saying this wrong my entire life, but
Right.
you don't realize it because everybody else was saying it wrong.
Exactly.
So it's something that there are little skills that you learn along the way
Mm-hmm.
that you get to use later on.
Right.
And perhaps you don't realize that you're developing this toolbox, and you go along with that. The one thing that every now and then I'll get the opportunity to speak to people at schools or wherever it might be, and I always tell them that you have to discover what your talent is, and you're usually the last person to appreciate your talent because normally it's not the talent that you want.
True.
If it comes easily to you, you don't appreciate it.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You see people who draw very well, and they're like, "Oh, I draw all the time."
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything that's hard for me.
Right.
And you see it often. I mean, I always give people a great example. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player, wanted to be a baseball player, and he wasn't that good at baseball. But
Yeah,
basketball
that's true.
just came so easily to him that he didn't appreciate it.
Wow.
And as I said, don't try to go toward where your talent is.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to trying to go elsewhere where perhaps maybe it doesn't work out for you.
Sure.
So
No, that's
always,
good advice
and
right
like I said,
there.
those skills you develop along the way that as I said before, when you put them all together, I had the radio background. I was a big fan of boxing. They were looking for a bilingual person, and I just basically had what they were looking for. It really doesn't do me good anywhere else, but this one particular package or set of skills is ideal for what I'm doing now, and you have to learn to embrace it, and you have to learn to try to exploit it as much as possible, and thankfully I've been able to do that.
Wow, you're so fortunate, and that's such great advice too. As far as how you've handled it and how you've become what you are today. I think that a lot of people need to hear that. They need to hear all those things.
I mean, but even Jordan, Jordan played against Kobe.
Right.
And, Kobe played against LeBron.
Uh-huh.
So when I see Loopy, you see, you see Michael Buffer.
Right.
And, but Kobe needs to play with LeBron. So don't call yourself or don't shortchange yourself, my man, because
Oh, that's for
you
sure.
got it going on. Even Jimmy Lennon, I know he looks at your work. I mean, he doesn't say too much. I mean, he's a student of the game, and he just has that it came from Pops. And you can close your eyes, and those voices, I mean, they sound the same.
True.
But man, you're in some good company, my man. You really are.
That's for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. And like I said, they're both great guys. They're both very different guys. They have very different styles.
Right.
This weekend, as a matter of fact, I had the chance to to hang out with Jimmy a little bit. We were running around, and he's one thing that people don't know about Jimmy. He's a big foodie guy. He loves going to these little places and finding new places to eat. So, and you want to hear a funny story? We got into an Uber after the show, and it was really dark. So the Uber driver was a really knowledgeable guy in boxing, but he had no idea that Jimmy Lennon was in the back seat.
Oh my God.
And he's asking him, he's like, "So, have you guys ever been to a big fight?" And I just look at Jimmy.
Oh, wow.
It's like if
and
you
I'm
only
just
knew.
kinda,
Was this in Stockton or was this in Vegas?
this was in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Philadelphia, and the guy knew what he was talking about. He obviously knew boxing
Right.
because he was bringing up some really, he's very precise. He sees all the fights, but I don't know if he was paying attention to his phone when we actually got inside the car or
Sure.
not. But he was asking us things like that. Like, "Yeah, Steve, do you guys ever go to big fights? So what do you guys do for the company?" Or
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
yeah, and he's got one of the biggest announcers in the back, and Jimmy Lennon, who's done Mike Tyson, who's done the Chavez fights, and when we got out of the car, I was giggling as we were headed up to the rooms because this guy was never, and it was at night. It was a really dark area, so
Yeah.
I never got to really figure out who the guy was that he had in the back of the car.
He probably would have freaked out if he realized who was in the back seat.
Yeah,
probably
you
would
should
have.
have put the
Like,
light on
"What?"
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came close to telling him, but I was like, you know what? It was just much more fun and entertaining. It made for a better story that he never figured it out.
Oh, that's okay. That's all good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, he's cruising around right now in Philadelphia. He has no idea. Maybe he'll listen to the podcast. He'll
No,
say,
he
what
doesn't
the
have
heck?
a clue. He does not have a clue.
That's pretty funny.
Wow, man. I mean, we definitely got to bring you back on. I mean, because I want to hear more stories, my man. I mean,
sure.
we went the whole hour. I mean, and I know we can go another hour, but I know you're busy. I appreciate your time, being a good sport about this, because, you could have said, you know what, I don't do interviews, or not today, or it doesn't work my schedule, but you embraced it, man, and you've been a true professional, and I know that's only just the topping of the cake, man. I want to get down to the batter, man. I want to get down to the mix, and I guess we'll have to wait for that, Carol, when he hits Fresno.
Yeah, we're going to have to come pick you up and bring you to the
He
studio.
said in studio.
Yes.
I've been in the studio in a while, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Thank you guys for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation, and as you said, hopefully I left enough meat on the bone for the next conversation.
There you go. There you go. One last thing. What do you got to say to all the viewers and the fans that watch and support one of the baddest ring announcers, which is yourself? What do you got to say to all them that are watching and supporting you and just love your style?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for actually coming out. And the one thing I always said about boxing fans is the difference between boxing fans and MLB fans and NFL fans is, as a boxing fan, you have to work to find out information. You have to dig. You have to figure out, okay, what fight is happening this week, what things are going on. If you're a baseball fan, there's an entire network that's devoted to baseball, even when there's no baseball going on.
Yeah.
Or you got NFL Network going on 24 hours a day when there's no football going on. And as a boxing fan, you have to work.
That's
you have
true.
to go out and look for the information, when the fights are happening, when they're going to be here.
What was the result?
It's pretty exhausting
Exactly.
at times.
And I've always appreciated the fact that the boxing fans put that work in.
That's awesome.
They pay their hard-earned money. It's not cheap to go to a big fight.
No.
I mean, a fight in Vegas, a ticket in the nosebleeds can be $200, and that's if you're lucky enough to buy it at face value.
Right.
So I appreciate the fact that they go out there, they work hard, they put their money out there, and as you mentioned before, anytime they want to talk about boxing, anytime they want to take a picture or say hello, whatever, don't hesitate whatsoever. Just come up to me, and I'm more than happy to say hello and thank you all for making the effort.
That's really
I'm
awesome for you.
I'm
That's
gonna let
really
everybody
awesome
know.
about you.
Carol, any closing thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to just say thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's been a pleasure meeting you. I've met you at probably all of the Combate shows, and so it's always nice to see you there, and you're very exciting. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to be with us.
Yeah, Lou, AP,
thank you,
I
guys.
appreciate it, man, so very much. And just to let you know, we used one of your sound bites when we asked you, hey, when you said you're watching The Fighter's Voice. We use that on our show, and one of the great ones right here. So I appreciate your time. Until next time, everybody that's watching, I appreciate you. Don't forget to follow us at www.youtube.com/The Fighter's Voice, the only voice that matters. We're simply knocking out the competition. As always, it's a wrap. Thumbs up for Richie.
In honor of Richie Ortiz, ladies and gentlemen, a moment of of silence, please.
I am here, man.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May he rest in peace. Damas y caballeros, este combate marcado a 4 vueltas en la división peso ligero.
It's a wrap here, LA, California, with the best in the business. Thumbs up for Richie.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lupe Contreras, and you're watching The Fighter's Voice.
I'm Bob Arum, and I'm with The Fighter's Voice.
It's a wrap here, LA, California, with the best in the business. Thumbs up for Richie.